Torah Guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.
Shalom, 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 Yasharal and Yahuah, grafted in Gentiles into the body of Hamashiach. Listen, haven't you heard that you are sons and daughters of the living Yahuah? You who have been born again of the water, the blood, and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, haven't you heard that this Yahushua Hamashiach was sent? This Yahushua Hamashiach brought you into this new birth. This Yahushua Hamashiach has placed you in Yahuwah's dominion through your amunah in his blood. Haven't you heard? Haven't you understood that Yahuwah has done these things for you? Abba Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, I give you praise for your Ruach Ha'Qodesh, the water and the blood, the witness. I thank you for as many as received you, to them you gave power to be sons and daughters of the living Yahuwah, even them that had amunah in your name. Abba Yahuwah, you replaced the stony heart and gave us a heart of flesh, a new heart. Abba, you gave us a new Ruach, and then you put your Ruach Ha'Qodesh in us. Abba Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, I give you praise. By this Ruach Ha'Qodesh in my belly, which flows rivers of living water, I'm asking you to take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and rein. Abba, praying that this word that you send forth would not cause anyone to stumble, anyone to be turned out of the way, anyone to come up lame. Abba Yahuwah, I pray in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach that your word would have free course. Abba Yahuwah, you have done it. I know you have done it. I am in total trust of your plan. Abba Yahuwah, I thank you for the keys to the Shamayim. I thank you for the power to execute authority in the arrests. By virtue of the blood of Yahushua Hamashiach, the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, I have the keys to the Shamayim. Abba Yahuwah, I bind spirits, evil ruachs. I bind devils. I bind demons. I bind familiar spirits. I bind ruachs of divination and perversion. I bind unclean ruachs. Abba Yahuwah, I bind every wicked device that Hasatan has launched against those that are the children of Yahuwah. Abba Yahuwah, I give you praise. Abba Yahuwah, I give you praise. I give you praise. No weapon formed against them prospers. Abba Yahuwah, I give you praise. I give you praise. I bind these devils. I bind these demons. I bind witches and warlocks. I bind sorcerers and sorceresses. I bind those that are affecting those that you have chosen from amongst the called. Abba Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, I take authority. I execute authority. I say the mountains move. I command demons and devils to loose Yahuwah's people. Loose those who Yahuwah's chosen. Loose their minds. Loose their bodies. In the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, Abba Yahuwah, you've not given us the Ruach of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Abba Yahuwah, is there any sick among you? Let them call for the elders of the church and let them pray for them. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, to lay hands on them. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and Yahuwah shall raise them up. Abba Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, I lose healing. I pray, Abba. I pray, Abba, that your people would come into the knowledge of this truth. Abba, I pray for their well-being. Abba Yahuwah, I pray for their well-being. Abba Yahuwah, I pray for their well-being. Abba Yahuwah, I pray, Yahuwah, that you would continue by your Ruach Ha'Qodesh to manifest your power, manifest your glory, manifest your righteousness. Abba Yahuwah, I give you praise for giving us everything we need to get the job done. Abba, I praise you for healing. I praise you for deliverance. I praise you for sanctification in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh of Yahuah. I thank you, Yahuah, that my mind is right. Abba, I give you praise. I give you praise. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuah, my strength and my redeemer. Hallelujah. We're listening to none other than the EPHESIANS. The song is titled, Haven't I? You have to recognize what Yahuah has done in Amunah, and you have to receive it. In Amunah, you have to be born again of the water of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You have to receive this witness. He provided an everlasting covenant through Hamashiach Yahushua, an atonement, a covenant. It's a covenant of healing. It's a covenant of blessing, prosperity. He broke you. For y'all that don't like blessings, he baruched you. Listen, Yahuah is heard the cry of his people who have turned to him. Haven't he woke you up? And then he sent Yahushua Hamashiach's witness. He showed you the gods of your enemies. And then when you received the witness of Yahushua Hamashiach, he gave you a heart. A new heart. He gave you a name. He gave you back your heritage. But you're his heritage now in Yaakov through Amunah and the witness of Yahushua Hamashiach. You've been birthed into his kingdom. Haven't I? Song is entitled, Haven't I? Man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. Hear the word of Yahuah. Right? It's time to get suited and booted. Right? It's time that we understand that we need to remain suited and booted. Right? We need to be prepared. Right? Yahuah has given us everything we need to get the job done, and it's up to us to do that which he has called us to do. Suited and booted. Right? Military. It's a place of being in preparedness, ready to go in for the battle. Understanding that there's a warfare. Understanding that there is a warfare that's being waged. Right? And the targeted assault is against those that Yahuah has chosen. Hasatan has no concern about your call. The call was important to him because he understood now in reference to time how close he was to the end. The call was for us because, again, Yeshua is of the Yahudim. Yahuah has placed a judgment on those who judged his people unfairly and unrighteously. Again, we ended up in this predicament because of the sins of our forefathers, right? and because of our own perpetual worshiping of other elves. Elves. Violating the Torah of Yahuah. Violating the commandment of loving Yahuah thy Elohiym. The commandment of obeying Yahuah Elohiym and not putting any other else before them. Our forefathers failed miserably. We profaned his name amongst the heathen. And because of this, we were put into perpetual bondage, held under a curse. And only those who have received this witness have been made free from the curse, have come from under the curse. Those who have received Yahushua HaMashiach's witness, Yah's salvation. Those who have been born again of the water and of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, who Yahushua has provided an atonement for, that Yahuah has honored and received, and to those that Yahuah has chosen, he has put his Ruach Ha'Qodesh in you. He has given you a new heart. He's taken away the stony heart and given you a new heart of flesh, thereby giving you the capacity by his Ruach HaQodesh to keep his Torah. Booted and suited. See, because if you ain't in this witness, you don't have the capacity to withstand Hasatan. If you're not born again of the water and of the Ruach HaQodesh, you have no skills. You have no tools. You can't assume tools and skills that you don't have. You can't assume tools and skills just because you turn to Torah. You can't assume that because you turn to Torah without having received an atoning sacrifice, that you have what you need to recommend you to Yahuah and bring you into the kingdom. Just because I know that I'm E1B1A, even though I know that my DNA is connected with those that are of Yahudah, of the royal seed of David. My DNA was in Spain and Portugal. You know, even though I know this, thanks to B'nai Israel who matched up all of this information. Listen, even though I understand this, that's just the call. Even though I've acquired all this information and all this knowledge from Ron Dalton and his books and his movies, right? Even though I've listened to Rebirth's documentary, even though I've gathered all this information. And I understand that I am attached to a people that are called. The called is not the chosen. The called has been given an understanding of who they are by virtue of their DNA, how Yahuah valued them enough to call them, to give them an awakening, to bring them to a knowledge of who they are, identify their shortcomings, their missteps, that understand what their forefathers did so that they can make the correction in Amunah through faith and the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach to being his people. There is no replacement theology. No. Because Yahuah has not casted away his people and have made the Gentiles and the Christian church his people. That's not, no, this is not that. This is not that ideology. This is not that doctrine. Yahuah has a people. He has a people from every tribe. He has a people that he has chosen from amongst the tribes, who he has called and chosen, who he has put his Ruach Ha'Qodesh in. Yahuah has a people, but Yahuah is gracious and merciful, and he's extended this Yeshua that Yahusha said he has come to his lost sheep to the other nations. Does not make anyone better. It does not nullify what Yahuah has established in Yaakov as his firstborn. But listen, it's more than just having the knowledge of being a people. You have to be born again of the water and of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You know, that's why, you know, it's crazy because, you know, at the end of the day, if you find out through your, you know, and again, if you want to know whether or not you have E1, B1, A ancestry, look, go to one of the genosites, DNA places. Find out what you are so you know. I mean, again, a lot of y'all won't come back like, oh man, so I am not attached to the nation by blood. But it's okay, because Yahuah is still gracious and compassionate. He'll still receive you through Amunah, the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, and you can still be born again of the water and of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You can still move in power. Listen. It's time to get suited and booted. It's time out for all of these distractions, all these things that are just pulling you away from the purpose that Yahuah has called you to. It's purpose. See, it's time to get booted and suited, because Hasatan is as a roaring lion, going about looking to devour. He ain't devouring those he already got. He already got them. They are his. But he really wants to devour you who have been born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. He wants to take you. He wants you. What Eshan Burgundy said, all the beast want is to have the sheep in his teeth. All he wants is to kill, destroy you. He wants to stop you. You are an object of his continual attack. And again, Hasatan doesn't come and attack you all at once. It's a gradual pulling away to the point where when he swoops in, you ain't built up. You ain't prepared. You know, you oil is out of your lamp. Suited and booted. Stay suited and booted. See, now this message is more for those who have been born again of the water and Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You know, this is them. I ain't talking about Christianity. I'm sorry. I'm not even talking about Jesus and Lord. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Baal. I'm not talking about the earth pig. I'm not talking about J, the letter J. I'm not talking about any of that. I ain't talking about S-star. I'm not talking about Greek alphabets, omegas, the divine nine. I ain't talking about none of that, because all of that is going to send you to hell. Yeah. Your Eastern Star, First Lady, your Mason pastor, or your fraternity frat brothers that you pledged to these L's to. You boule. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about none of that. I'm talking about this witness. Being born again of the water and of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, being made free from that stuff. And you know what? I praise Yahuah every day that I was chosen. Because there were times that I entertained those things, but Yahuah said no. And I had his Ruach Ha'Qodesh enough in understanding that I knew that wasn't what he wanted me to do, so I didn't. Hasn't Yahuah? Yahuah has chosen? Hasn't he? No. Do you believe he has? Do you believe that you really have everything you need? Do you run to Yahuah in fear because of what you see? Do you ask people to pray with you in fear because of what you see or what's coming upon you, or the anxiety? The Hasatah anxiety is another way of saying a ruach of fear. It's a ruach of fear. Allowing that oppressive spirit to take hold of you. Haven't you sent Yahushua HaMashiach, a kinsman redeemer, to die for the nation? Haven't you provided Yeshua to those of the other nations that receive his witness? If you have been a recipient of this witness and you have received his Ruach HaQodesh, listen, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Hasn't he? He woke you up. He woke you up to bring you to the call, to the chosen. He woke you up from the call to bring you to the chosen. Hasn't he? It's time to stay booted and suited. Suited and booted. It's time to be on the alert. It's time to be prepared for battle. It's time. It's time to fast. It's time to pray. It's time to get in that word and begin to say what Yahushua said. Say what Yahuah said. Say what the prophet said that stood on the Torah and the Besorah that saw Yahuah's mighty works. It's time for you to be booted, suited, and booted. It's no time for casting away your confidence. It's no time. It's no time. Listen. Ephesians 6. See, now the beautiful things about Ephesians. This letter, this testament, this Torah, right? Is that from the first chapter to the 6th chapter. Shaul takes you to the process of being born again and what that looks like to the end when you have already established in this witness and what it's going to take to make it to the end. He lets you know that Yahuah, by virtue of this witness, this Besorah of truth, right, in which he believed, you were sealed with the Ruach HaQodesh of promise. Sealed. And with this same Ruach comes exceedingly great power. Chapter 1. Right? And this power, this dunamos, this delegated authority is yours. Because of what Yahushua HaMashiach did. It's yours. And then he goes into the 2nd chapter and he begins to remind you of your past. And the result of the change that has occurred as a result of receiving this witness, being born again, being transferred from the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of Yahuah, being seated together in heavenly places in Hamashiach Yahusha. The processes, the demonstration, right? The process, the demonstration. From the first chapter of Ephesians, the second chapter of Ephesians, the third chapter of Ephesians, the fourth chapter of Ephesians, teaches you, shows you what it looks like to operate in power. It shows you what's the responsibilities that should be happening with mothers and fathers and husbands and wives and children. How in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, there's no respecter of person. And this letter to the Ephesians was written to the Gentile church because they didn't have an understanding and a knowledge of Torah. And everything that Shaul taught is consistent with Torah. He says, listen, in the final chapter, 10th verse, 6th chapter, the 10th verse. Finally, right? This is the last thing I'm going to leave with you. Finally, after everything that I've recapped from that first chapter, right? Because Paul taught in Ephesus for years. He was in Ephesus for several years, teaching the church in Ephesus. He taught them Torah. He taught them Torah. He didn't teach them about the Talmud either. He taught them Torah. Paul understood the Torah. Paul speaks several languages fluently. Torah. He was wise, right? He had the power and the Ruach's influence of persuasion. He almost persuaded Agrippa. Cripple said to Paul, Shaul, thou hast almost persuaded me to become a follower of Mashiach. They put in the text a Christian, but that's not the follower of Mashiach, a follower of Mashiach. Finally, the last thing that I want to leave with you in this epistle, if I don't get a chance to get to you again, to come in and reinforce some things and do some training and some more teaching, to bring forth some more clarity, you know what I mean, to help those who are coming in that need assistance. If I can't get to you, I need you to understand this epistle. Because if you can understand this epistle, and you can teach this epistle to the assemblies, right? It's teaching Torah. Teaching Torah. He says, listen, finally, my brethren, right? Finally, my brother. In Adonai Yahusha. You gotta understand this. Listen. The called are not the chosen. The called are not in Adonai Yahusha. The called are not in Adonai Yahusha. The awakening of itself is not the birth. See, I know some of y'all, don't agree with this idea, but hear the word of Yahuah. The call is not the woman giving birth. Hence the idea of Yahuah is going to bring us together to birth forth the seed. No, that's not the called. I mean, that's not the woman giving birth. The woman giving birth is us being born again of the water, Ruach Ha'Qodesh, and manifesting Yahuah's purpose in this kingdom. Those who are born of the woman are the ones that she's birthed. Those who have been born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh are those that the woman has birthed. Finally, my brethren in Adonai Yahusha, be strong. Finally, my brethren in Adonai, be strong in Adonai. Be strong in the witness. Right? Adonai, the power and the strength of his might. His power. So be strong is an indication that you have the capacity to be strong. To take strength means that you have the capacity and the power to take strength. To be strong indicates that you have the ability to control your outcome when it comes to your strength. You have to be suited and booted. Now listen, finally, my brother, be strong in Adonai Yahusha. Right? And the power of his might. Be strong in the power of Adonai Yahuah. And the power of his might. But you got to be in Adonai Yahusha. Yah's salvation. To ever be a booted and a suited. You have to be booted and suited. Finally, my brother, be strong in Adonai and in the power. In the power. In the power. Be strong. It's in your capacity to be strong. This Greek word is a different Greek word, right?
Strong's G 2904, kratos.
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 Kratos. Kratos means force. Dunamos means explosive power, which is another word for power. And exousia, it's another Greek word for power. It means delegated authority. But they're all encompassing the Ruach Ha'Qodesh of Yahuah. Just like there's 7 Ruachs. The Ruach of Yahuah, the Ruach of wisdom, the Ruach of understanding, the Ruach of counsel, the Ruach of might, the Ruach of knowledge, and the fear of Yahuah. They're all of Yahuah. They all make up Yahuah's Ruach HaQodesh. Force, strength. Finally, my brother, be strong in Yahuah's strength. And Yahushua Mashiach's strength. Now, in order to be strong in Yahushua HaMashiach's strength, Yahuwah's strength, you have to come by way of the witness. Hence, you got to come by the way of Ephesians, the first chapter, which is Shaul's way of saying that you got to be born again. You got to come by way of the truth and the life. You have to receive Yahushua's witness. Be born again in water and Ruach Ha'Qodesh. It has to happen. Right? In order for you to be strong and have the force of Yahuah, because you have to stay booted and suited. You have to be strong. You have to know where your strength lies. In the Ruach Ha'Qodesh that he's put in you. You have to strengthen yourself by disciplining your Ruach, your flesh, your mind. You have to fast. You have to pray. You have to read Torah. You have to transform the way you think. You got to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Stay booted and suited. You know, some of y'all asking you to do stuff he already done. He's already done it because he's giving you the power to do it. See, and if you are praying and fasting and you seeking Yahuah in the Torah, the Besorah of truth, and you are being dedicated in this witness, guess what? You gonna know this. You gotta stay booted and suited. Force, strength, power, might, mighty, great power, mighty deeds, a work of power. Listen, dominion. You are no longer under the dominion of Yahuah. You're no longer under the dominion of Hasatan. You're under the dominion of Yahuah. It's his might. It's his power that he has put in you. Ye have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the glory may be of Yahuah, because it is his glory. It's his power. It's his strength in you by the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Mighty deeds. Right. My brethren, be strong in Yahuah, Yahusha, and in the power, dominion, the great power of his might. Might.
Strong's G 2479. Ishus.
Right? Ability, force, strength, might. See, that's why being booted and suited only applies to those who are the chosen. Because ain't nobody being booted and suited who ain't the chosen. Right? And go and thinking that you gonna store up on weapons and ammunition and and all of that stuff, and you booted and suited. You got your camo packs, you got your all that stuff, you got your magazines loaded, ready for that big day. That's not the booted and suited I'm talking about. That's your might. Am I saying there's not a purpose for that? No, I'm not saying that there's not a purpose for that, because you might need it. But what I'm saying is that's your might. That's not Yahuah's. Yahuah could use that demonstration as he leads you by the Ruach Ha'Qodesh to be prepared for battle, physical. Because there's going to be a time when there's going to be physical battles. But the battle that Hasatan is waging against you now is a spiritual battle of the mind. It's an attack on the body. Might. Ability. Force. Strength. Might. And it's not even your might. He ain't even asking you. Because it's your might. Ephesians 1:13. And whom also ye trusted. Trusted in who? You trusted in that Hebrew that was without form or comeliness. That Hebrew that there was nothing about him that was to be desired. Right? That brother, that Yahuah, right? Who was declared by Yahuah, and who was sealed by the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, that he was his beloved son, and whom I am well pleased. Yahuah. Right? He, Yahusha, who said that unless a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Yahuah. Unless a man be born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, he cannot enter into the kingdom. Right? But this Shaul says, in whom also, after that ye heard the Torah. Yahusha says, believe me for my works, or for believe me for what I say, my Torah. Yahuah's Torah. Yahushua didn't come out confessing anything other than Torah. You heard the Torah at Yahushua HaMashiach's lips, the Torah of truth. And we beheld his glory, as it was the only begotten of Abba. Yahuah, the first chapter, the 14th verse. Only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Torah. You heard the word of the Torah, the Besorah of your Yeshua, and whom also that after ye believed, you were sealed with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh of promise. Right? Jump down to the 19th verse. And what is the exceeding greatness of his power to usward who believe? The exceeding greatness is of his power, exceeding greatness. Now his power to us is great, but it's exceeding greatness. Because we believe, we receive the witness. We've been sealed. We have power. We have a different dominion. We are under a different might. The kingdom of Yahuah. He says, listen. exceeding greatness of his power. That word power here is another word power, right? That word here is
Strong's G 1411. Dunamis.
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 The other one was kratos. I think it was kratos. Kratos. This is dunamos. Both Greek words, right? This means strength, ability, and power also. This is inherent power. Inherent. Right? Well, okay. Let's do this. This is inherent power. Now, what is inherent? Inherent power, right? What does the word inherent mean? Inherent. Involved in the Constitution. In the Constitution, not like the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution, in this particular sense, means the entire. It would be the Constitution that is me. It's in me, the Constitution, right? Or essential character of something. This explosive power that belongs to those who have become a part of the witness. Those who have the capacity to, by being suited and booted, bring forth the kingdom. Who are consistent in purpose. Understanding that there is this constant attack being waged. Involved in the Constitution or essential character of something, belonging by nature or habit. By nature or habit. By nature or habit, right? He says here, inherent power. Power residing in a thing by virtue of its nature. See, when you understand that you have everything you need to get the job done, when you understand that you have a particular set of skills, you go about kingdom business differently. You go about kingdom business different than anything else, right? Even if you have a job in the world, you go by the influence of the kingdom of Yahuah and operate in his system by your moving decisions, because that's your nature. Your nature is not to respond the way they respond in the world, because you booted and suited. Or which a person or thing exerts and puts forth. Putting forth exceeding great power. He says here, right? Verse 19. And what the exceeding greatness of his dunamos to usward who have amunah. We gotta have amunah. It's to us who have amunah. Our amunah begins first at the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach as we receive his word, and it changes us. And we believe in amunah, setting a precedence for future amunah. Future experiences in Amunah. Future necessary being booted and suited and prepared for battle in Amunah. Who believe according to the working of his mighty power. This power, this exceeding power, right? This power, right, that comes with wisdom and revelation concerning him. Excuse me, this power, this having been made alive by his Ruach Ha'Qodesh. He did it when he raised Hamashiach from the dead and sat him at his own right hand in the heavenly places. He's given him authority far above all principalities and powers and mights and dominions and every name that is in the world, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but in that which is to come. And have put all things under his feet, and gave him to be the head over all things to the assembly. Which is his body. The assembly, the gathering, is in his body. There's no gathering of anything or anyone that is outside the body. You have to be in this witness in order to be gathered. You had to be born again in the water of Ruach Ha'Qodesh to be gathered. Yeshu and Yahuah. There's no gathering apart from this witness. And I put all things under his feet and gave him to be the head over all things, all to the assembly, which is his body. It belongs to him. His body provided the method of us being a part of his assembly. The fullness of him that filleth all in all. He was the fullness of him, Yahuah, that fills all in all. Let's go back to Ephesians 6. Finally, my brethren, be strong in Adonai and in the power of his might. His power that's in you. This exceeding greatness. This power. This might. This explosive power is in you. Now get booted and suited. Because in order for you to do this, to be booted and suited, you have to come by way of Yahushua Mashiach's witness. Again, I repeat, the called are not prepared. The chosen are prepared. And you know, it's interesting, right? Yahuah is just revealing this to me more and more and more. Listen, right? The call goes out to everybody. Everybody will begin to recognize the called. These nations that are conspired against us know that we're the called. Those who are attached to Hasatan and these fraternities and sororities and you know too, you know, listen, right? Our people, right? that our kids that go to these colleges and they participate in these fraternities and all of these things, right? They don't understand the scope of what they've sold themselves into. I'm convinced of that. Convinced that they don't know. Right? I'm convinced that they don't know. Right? I'm convinced some of them know. Because some of them have done the research and they understand. And they're still in agreement with it. But for the most part, you know, right? These people that introduced these boule, these masons, you know, these masons and these fraternities, right, that were introduced to our people, was introduced to them as a mechanism to gain wealth, to be developed. Right? You know, why did Black Wall Street get destroyed? Because if we were living righteously, then we would have flourished. No weapon turned against us will prosper. Why? Why? See, listen, I'm gonna tell you something. That's why. Man, my folk ain't gonna like this, but it's a result of the curse. You will never get ahead. You can't be party to these fraternities and these sororities. You can't be Masons and Freemasons, and you know your leaders can't be doing all of that. And, you know, and the people prosper. Your cities and your towns can't be built on that stuff and prosper. No, Yahuah's gonna bring a judgment. Our people, those who carry the E1B1A haplogroup, our people, Yahuah that has been sold to the Grecians, the Greeks, our people, Yahuah, Yasharah. Our people are where we are because of our sin. Sins of our forefathers. In the lands of our captivity. We want to be like them. We want to wear hair like them. Convinced us to cut off our hair. I ain't gonna never put a razor in my head again. Because my hair is alive. Wherever it grows. E1B1A is not going to be enough. But you will use anybody for this awakening. He'll use anybody. You know, and it's interesting because, you know, I first heard about the awakening, right, through a camp. Right? Through a camp. I'm studying Torah, and I'm in Torah, I'm reading the scriptures, you know, and I heard this. And I'm like, man, let's shut that off. That's garbage. Right? And I'm right on the highway, you know, you said, don't play it again. Because there's a YouTube. I caught a YouTube. Started listening to it, and he was giving some real cold hard facts. Some of it was facts, right? But some of it didn't make sense. So I had to say, okay, you. And then when it began to make sense to me, in my living room, I put my head in my hands and I wept like a baby because I knew I was Yahuah's people. I knew I was. It just made sense. It added up. I didn't need to get a DNA test. I knew it. It made sense. I did a DNA test just because I wanted to do a DNA test, but I knew who I was. I knew that my born again experience was real because Yahuah signs and wonders and miracles. But then I was never ever a proponent of anything other than the Torah. You know, I think I went through so many different denominations because, you know, I always found conflict with them. I see people moving in error, opposite of the scripture. And I had the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. And, you know, I used to teach at these places. I taught at this Church of God by Faith. I taught at Church of God in Christ. I taught in the AME church. Everywhere I went, I served to be a teacher or a trainer or educator. But you know what? You know, it's just because it was like it was falling on deaf ears. You know, I'm thinking, man, what's wrong with these people? It's not in being in the nation and the called. The call went to everybody. Some people heard the call and like, oh man, oh, they the people? Yeah, they ain't the people. Some of the people read it, Hebrews, like, oh man, this is us. That's as far as it went. Yeah, they did some more research. They found out where we are. They researching the land. They researching the place. You know, everybody, you know, on YouTube, you know, they all got this information, you know. But ain't nobody moving people to being the chosen. Waking up Jacob. And the waking up to the quickening. Recognize who you were. Recognize who you are. Recognize who has called you to be. He said, listen, put on, get booted and suited. Suited and booted. You know, when we was in the military, man, you know, you had to wear your military uniform a certain way all the time. All the time. Right? All the time. When you were not in a battle type situation, you had to have your uniform pressed, and you know, you had to be sharp. You know, especially as an MP, you had to be always tight work, right? When it came to battle, oh, you had to get suited and booted. You had to have your uniform, right? Your boots, everything you needed in your rucksack, your M16, because that's what we had at the time, M16s, right? You had to have all your battle dress gear ready to rock and roll because attack was imminent. And we used to play these war games where, you know, we would have mocked up simulations of events. And we would have to deploy and play, I don't say play fight, but, you know, do these mocked up scenarios as preparations for when we were actually put in the arena. On the place, the location where we would have to possibly be engaged in war. Had to be booted and suited. You had to be ready to go. Right? Had to be ready to go. Right? Put on the whole armor of Yahuah. Because you're going to need it all. You're going to need it all. Listen. You wasn't taking that. You were not taking certain things. You was taking everything. You took gas masks. You took. Oh man, you took. Man, listen. Duffel bag. Duffel bag had all your physical clothes in it, right? And then you got the rucksack that pretty much dealt with your equipment. You know, your gas mask, you know, your stuff that you had to carry with you in battle on the fly. Duffel bag was the stuff that you had where you set up in your permanent deployed spot. Right. But you know that rucksack. Yeah. You know, you put everything that you could put in there that you would need for moving forward or hitting a front that or anything that required action. Only a few days, 3 days. Because ideally, you know, you ain't going to keep much of that rucksack. Right? Right? So the idea is that you got to have all the armor. You know, you wasn't going into battle without a gas mask. Because, you know, if the enemy chose to deploy chemical weapons, there was aerosol, and you didn't have a gas mask because she says, I ain't taking it. I don't need it. Everybody else got theirs on it. You ain't carrying yours because, you know, it was extra weight. You're going to die. Because you need it all. The point is you need it all. Being booted and suited. Right? Put on the whole armor of Yahuah that ye may be able to stand against the wiles, the trickeries, the schemes of Hasatan. Hasatan's schemes and trickeries. Right? For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against rulers, against darknesses of this world, against spiritual wickednesses in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. Now remember Ephesians 1. And what exceeding greatness of his power, beginning at the 19th verse, exceeding greatness of his power to us who believe, according to the working of his mighty power, which he wrought in Mashiach Yahushua when he raised him from the dead, and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places, Yahushua, far above principalities and powers, and mights and dominions, in every name that is named, not only in this world, but that which is to come, and have put all things under his feet, and gave him to be the head over all things to the assembly. We are the assembly, endowed with power, therefore they are under our feet. Principalities and powers and rulers, they're under our feet. He says, which is his body, the fullness of him that worketh all, that filleth all in all. Right? Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor. Stay booted and suited. The whole armor. And again, this applies only to those who Yahuah has chosen. Only the chosen. Only the chosen are the booted and suited. Have the capacity to be booted and suited. But even in this capacity, you can't go out without yourself being fully armed. Because the wiles of Hasatan, schemes, trickeries, devices, distractions, witchcraft, familiar spirits, deception. Deception. That's why it's only going to be a remnant. It's only going to be a remnant. Only 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 a remnant. When are my people going to learn? When are you going to learn? If you don't come back, you going to burn. Come back to what? Faith in Hamashiach Yahushua, being born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Only a remnant, matter of fact. As a matter of fact, this song, Hezekiah, only remnant. Only a few is gonna make it up. Those who are booted and suited. Only a remnant. Because they booted and suited. You gonna burn. Jacob's scriptures confirmed. When are my people gonna learn? We Jacob's scriptures confirmed. But we got to return. We got to come to faith in Hamashiach Yahushua. We got to come from being the called to the chosen. Servants turn to the word when they hear it. They've turned to faith in Hamashiach Yahushua. Holy Spirit ain't playing for real. Only a remnant. I'm convinced. Hezekiah, I don't want to write his music. I'm convinced. You got to take the whole armor. Oh, you got to take the whole armor. Listen, I'm convinced. You got to take the whole armor. You can't neglect. The necessary preparation. Being booted and suited means that you have taken the steps necessary to be prepared. You have taken the steps of preparation, right? You prepared yourself. Because see, it's critical. Because you can't go into this understanding or having the knowledge that Yehoshatan has wiles and schemes, and you ain't prepared. You ain't booted and suited. You can't expect to win. You can't expect a win, right? You can't. You're not going to win. You have to understand this. He said that we would receive power after the Ruach Ha'Qodesh has come upon us to be witnesses. Right? To be witnesses. He says, but ye shall receive power after the Ruach Ha'Qodesh is come upon you, and ye shall be my witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and Yahudah, and in Sharon, and the uttermost parts of the Eretz. Right? Acts 1. Acts 1. Acts. Gotta be booted and suited. You gotta understand. You gotta be booted and suited. Acts 1 and 10. No. Acts 1 and 8. All right. It says, Acts 1 and 8. Matter of fact, let's start at 5. No, let's start at 4. And being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart Jerusalem, but wait for the promise. Wait for the promise. Right? Wait for the promise.
Strong's G 1860. Epangelia.
Epangelia. It's an announcement, right? An act of promising, a promise given, or to be given, right? Promise of Abba, which he said ye shall, which he said ye have heard of me, right? For you who cannot truly baptize with water, right? That's what Euchanan said too. Euchanan said in John the 1st chapter. Euchanan said it this way. Euchanan says in 1 and 33, I knew him not, but he that sent me to baptize with water, the same said unto me, Euchanan 1 and 33, same said unto me, upon whom thou shalt see the Ruach Ha'Qodesh descending and remaining on him, the same shall baptize with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Right? He says in that first chapter, 5th verse of Acts, And Yahuah truly baptized with water, Yahusha, they saying this, but ye shall be baptized with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Not many days from here. Not many days hence. And I think it was a 7-day journey to go where they were going. All right? Dense. All right? He says, and when he therefore had come together, they asked him, saying, Adonai, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom of Asherah? Listen, is you going to, come on, is you going to set up the kingdom? Right? The kingdom of Yasharal. Right? And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the time or the season which Abba hath put in his own power. Right? But listen, ye shall receive power. Dunamos. Ye shall receive power after that the Ruach HaQodesh Pneuma.
Strong's G 4151. Pneuma.
Sometimes referred to the way which emphasizes his personality and character. That's what they say. Wind, breeze, the breath of Yahuah, the Ruach of Yahuah, the wind of Yahuah. It's coming, right? Restore unto the kingdom of Israel, and he said in the time power. But ye shall receive power after that the Ruach HaQodesh is come upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the uttermost parts of the earth. Booted and suited. Because you don't have power to do this. Right? Booted and suited. Stand therefore, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Elohiym, that ye may be able to withstand, in the evil days. And having done everything to stand. Right? Having done everything to stand. Right? Hasatan. It's wiles. Right? Listen here. Let's go to Jude. Jude. Jude, first chapter, because there's only one chapter, I believe. Only one chapter, Jude. The 17th verse. Right? But beloved, remember ye the words which were spoken before of the apostles of Adonai Yahusha. Right? Right? The apostles of Adonai Yahusha. Right? How that they told you that there should be mockers. in the last times, who shall walk after their own ungodly lust. Mockers, walking after their own ungodly lust, to use you as merchandise, to bring forth their diabolical schemes. These be they who separate themselves. Separate themselves. This is my camp. This is my assembly. You know, we don't just let everybody in. You know, you should let the wheat and the tare grow together. Because he going to... You don't want to let certain people in. You don't want the other nations to come in. You don't necessarily tell them not to, but you don't necessarily encourage them to either. Some of y'all just necessarily tell them, look, well, we just trying to get our own people in kind of thing. What kind of ridiculousness is that? You know, because of all of the trauma they experience. What? That should be in Yahushua, covered. Cleanse, wash, purge, new heart. Sensual. Having not the Ruach. Don't have the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. I'm telling you, I'm convinced a lot of these teachers that are teaching Torah and teaching, saying they, you know, they understand this, and they are the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Having not the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. That Ruach Ha'Qodesh teaching, provoking thought. Thoughts, camera action, provoking thought. Don't get triggered. Oh man, you want to cause doubt. You want to trigger. Having not the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You make mockery of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Nah, this Ruach Ha'Qodesh that I have, it's not a spectacle. The Ruach Ha'Qodesh that Yahuah has given me, the evidence of speaking in tongues, it's not a spectacle. The power that he has demonstrated through me in healing, casting out devils, it wasn't a spectacle. It was an act of love and service on behalf of Yahuah. Through Amunah and Yahushua HaMashiach, having believed what he has said, standing in Amunah, in the Torah, in the Besorah. Nah, this ain't churchianity. Don't get triggered. This is Ruach Ha'Qodesh, with signs following them that believe. He said, but you, beloved, build yourself on your most holy Amunah, praying in the Ruach HaQodesh. Praying in the Ruach HaQodesh. Build up your most holy Amunah. Praying in the Ruach, I'm like Yahuah. I think Most High that I speak in more tongues than, I speak in tongues more than any of you. I give Yahuah praise for being able to declare, being able to commune with him in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Most High, right? I got up this morning. Right? And, it's interesting because, more recently it's been like, I've been like really tired, right? And, you get up sometimes you're really tired. First you want to just go back to bed. I got up, like, oh, man, so tired, I said, no, I'm going out here and I'm going to pray. Because the Most High didn't say get up and pray. Right? I was up, So I went out and I started praying. Praying in the Ruach. Praying with my understanding. Praying in the Ruach. Praying in my understanding. You was like, my people fail to stay booted and suited and booted. They fail to be strong in the might that I have given them. See, because Yahuah ain't going to do nothing for you that he has given you the power to do for yourself. We used to sing this song in the Baptist church. It was like, and I know I'm not giving homage to the Lord, but they'd be like, Lord, move my mountain. No, Lord, don't move my mountain, but give me the strength to climb. Lord, don't take away my stumbling block, but lead me around it. You say, what? Say unto the mountain, be moved. Be cast into the sea. Don't doubt in your heart, but believe the things that you say come to pass, so that you will have what you say. You want me to move a mountain? I'm giving you authority to speak to the mountain. You don't want me to move the mountain. You just want to climb over the top of the mountain. The mountain can be moved. All you got to do is speak to it. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Listen. Only a remnant. Only a remnant. Only a remnant. Only a remnant. He says, beloved, build up yourself on your holy Amunah. Pistis, relating to Yahuah. Conviction of the truth of anything, its belief. The conviction or belief respecting a man's relationship to Yahuah and divine things. He says, my beloved, building yourself up. Building yourself up. The preparation. Being booted and suited. Right? Build yourself up. Right? The Greek word is
Strong's G 2026. Epoikadameo. Epoikadameo.
Apoikadomeo. To build upon. From faith to faith. Build upon. To build up. To build up yourself. Yahuah ain't gonna do nothing that he's giving you the ability to do for yourself. Some of y'all just don't want to have to believe Yahuah. Like the patriarch. Like our father Abraham. Abraham considered not his own body now dead when he was yet 100 years old. Now that he had the deadness of Sarah wombs, Abraham, it's your seed and Sarah's seed. Yeah, she's gonna give birth. Your seed in Sarah's womb. It's gonna give birth. 30 years later, he said, "I'm gonna change the name to Abraham, from Abram to Abraham." Abraham. Right? So that when you say your name, you're building yourself up upon your most holy faith, because it means the Father of many nations. Because it means the Father of many nations. He ain't 100 years old. Now that the deadness of Sarah's womb, staggered not at the promise of Yahuah through unbelief. Strong in Amun now. 30 years later. Still believe in Yahuah. He left his father's land and went to a land that he didn't know anything about. All he knows is that Yahuah told him to go, and he looked for a city that had foundation, whose builder and maker was Yahuah. Booted and suited, ready to go. So you've received the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You've received power. You're seated in heavenly places in the Mashiach Yahushua. Right? You know that there were wiles, trickeries, schemes, devices of Hasatan, but you got to stand. And you got to do everything in your power to stand. Right? You got to do everything within you to stand. Because you have you as Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Now again, this is to those who are born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. If you're born again of the water and Ruach Ha'Qodesh, then you're part of the chosen. If you're the chosen, then you are in him. You are under his dominion. You participate in his kingdom. You have the power to be the witnesses. Hasatan has targeted you. You are under direct assault. That salt is not always direct and overt. It's subtle sometimes, and it's gradual. You don't want to rush you into a situation where you start calling on Yahuah and fasting and praying and seeking Yahuah's word. He ain't trying to get you there like that. He's trying to gradually slow you down, slow you away, pull you away from, convince you that, well, you can get by without praying. Oh, you can get by without fasting. Oh, you can get by without praying in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You can get by without praying in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. When Jude says, "Beloved, building up yourselves on your most holy faith." When Jude says, "But, beloved, remember ye the words which were spoken before of the apostles of our Adonai Yahushua Mashiach." Yeah, these his words. Keep yourself in the love of Elohiym. Because love covers a multitude of sins. Faults. You know, that's why if you see your brother overtaken in a fault, you go to him. You don't create a YouTube. You don't create a YouTube. You know, you have You have relationships that people have built with people. Only to have those people take them in a fault, do something to them, or lead them to do something to you, overtaken in a fault. And if you both got the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, then one of y'all, someone of y'all, should be understanding that, you know, the way to go about this is to go to one another. Right? And if you can't get no satisfaction, then you take a couple witnesses with you. Say, listen, man, this is what I want to talk about. I want to do this. So, you know, I got such and such here. Just to testify that we've had this conversation. And the situation is resolved. No. Now, let's make something absolutely clear. Right? Bashing people in an attempt to expose them without giving them an opportunity to express their self and or repent, you ain't doing the will of Yahuah. Because if you have a brother that's overtaken in a fault, you're supposed to go to him. Sister, you're supposed to go to her. If you got a brother and a sister that's overtaken by a fault, you go to them. Because that's love. But keep yourself in the love of Elohiym, looking for the mercies of our Adonai Yahusha, Hamashiach. Because, you know, you got to show mercy. Because you're looking for mercy. You got to show compassion because you're looking for compassion. Again, your brother overtaken in a fault. Your sister overtaken in a fault. An Aki, an Akoti, an Ima, an elder overtaken in a fault. You go to them. Now, if they don't want to act right, and you take some witnesses and they still don't want to act right, it's all right. You did what the Most High called you to do. That will continue to allow Yahuwah's mercy to go to you. Booted and suited, booted and suited, booted and suited. I'm going to have to continue this tomorrow. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. Recognize that the times that we're in are evil. Evil. And only those that have received his power, only those that are strong in Adonai and in the power, Ruach Ha'Qodesh power of his might, which is his Ruach Ha'Qodesh, can put on the whole armor of Elohiym in order to stand against the wiles of Hasatan. Right? Right? Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of Elohiym, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day. Day is evil. Make no mistake about it. The day is evil. And only those that are born of the witness, the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, the water and the blood, are going to be able to withstand. Only a remnant. Hasn't Yahuwah done it? Abba Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, I give you praise. I give you praise, Abba Yahuwah, for giving me the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. I thank you for the water and the blood. I thank you for the torn, the Besorah of truth in my lips, on my lips, in my mouth. I thank you, Yahuah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, for power. Kratos, Dunamos, Exousia. I thank you for power, ability, might, explosive power, dynamite, authority, Exousia. I thank you that I have all that I need, but I have to take it all. I gotta be booted and suited. I have to have your Ruach Ha'Qodesh. I have to have your Ruach on the inside of me. Abba Yahuah, I pray that your people would understand this. That they would understand that they have to live this in Amunah. They got to walk this in Amunah. They got to trust this in Amunah. Abba Yahuah, I thank you for your word that it will go out and not return unto you void. I give you praise for the entrance of your word. It gives light. It gives understanding to the simple, the dum-dums, those who just want to give understanding to the simple. Abba Yahuah, a man's ways, a woman's ways is cleansed when they take heed to your word. Abba Yahuah, I pray that they would take heed to your word. Abba, let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. You are my strength and my redeemer. Hallelujah, man of Yah, woman of Yah. It's time to be booted and suited. Too much going on. Wiles, schemes, trickeries, devices, booted and suited. Having it all, you got to be prepared to stand, booted and suited. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Woman of Yahuah, beautifully and wonderfully made. Today Yahuah has favored you. Trust the Most High. Lean not into your own understanding. Acknowledge Yahuah. Those that are led by the Spirit of Yahuah, these are sons and daughters of Yahuah. Let him lead you and guide you. Let him shine on you. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. With that I say, shalom, 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 and be blessed.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.